Hello, San Francisco, and welcome once again to the Angelic Troublemakers. I'm your host, Alan Jones, and on today's program, benefits of a new clemency system. I have a challenge for you. I claim that my new clemency system, California Clemency Boards, at californiaclemency.org is a comprehensive approach to prison and justice reform in the state of California. And my challenge to you is I challenge you to contact me on my email about what case my new clemency system cannot handle. Now, I want you to know that I have done research on this, and I claim that it is a comprehensive approach to criminal and justice reform. I have a list of items that I think that best describe how this new clemency system, once law, will change criminal justice forever. Now, sadly, there are some cases that I have come across this past week that, you know, I say fit in with this new clemency system, what it will help with. And in doing so, I have to tell a few stories. Some of these cases are not California cases, but I'm saying that my new clemency protocol will help throughout the country. If it first becomes law in California and then other states pick it up, it will do great things, I say, to alleviate the burden that justice has placed on this country. And when I say justice, I mean mainly criminal justice. The first thing that I'll say that my new clemency system will do is it'll take clemency and pardon commutations and exoneration power from the governors and judges and these clemency boards and give clemency power to average citizens who vote and have served on juries in their county through a constitutional amendment. Now, when I say a constitutional amendment, I'm basically saying that we have to change a law in California. We have to amend our constitution to allow this new process to happen. And in doing so, I'm saying that we will take power away from the government in a way that is better for everyone involved. Um, there's some sad stories in criminal justice. Prosecutors have been running themselves silly getting convictions on cases that they defy common sense. Now, if you'll know, in our last election, a person who I did not vote for won for district attorney in San Francisco. Well, he already won me over because he fired one particular attorney in the DA's office that I don't know how she kept her job as long as she did. Her name was Linda Allen. She was involved in a murder case she prosecuted, and the man that was prosecuted, well, he didn't commit the crime. And he spent some time behind bars, and after it was proved that he did not do it, he sued, and San Francisco paid out $13 million, to settle the issue. Now, I'm saying that my new clemency process will not have somebody sitting in a prison cell waiting 10 years, 20 years, 30 years to get their justice. But it has a whole lot of other benefits that I would like to share, but I have to use these other state atrocities, if you will, to illustrate my point. But the first one is not out of state, it's right here. I'm going to go to my screen here, and if you'll notice, I read this article in the San Francisco Chronicle. And this article was about a gruesome murder. And the man in the picture there was accused of this murder. I think it was in Sacramento or somewhere around there. And in reading the story of this, the suspect next door, 3.5 years, they harassed this man with his hands up here, and come to find out, they let the real killer go. Now, did they take him to trial? No. They just fooled around with this guy for 3.5 years, accusing him, while he's locked up now, of a crime he did not commit. And so what had happened was, 3.5 years later, they got all their ducks in a row, had all kind of DNA evidence that he didn't do it, and they just fooled around with this man for 3.5 years, just because they were too lazy to do their job. And though the man was cleared and the real killer was caught, I'm saying that under California clemency, my new California clemency issue, he wouldn't have had to suffer that. Because a component of this new clemency system, even though he was not tried, this young man did not go to court, but the threat of him being able to prove his innocence to a clemency board that I have created, they wouldn't have bothered going down this road, because in it, he would have also been compensated under my new clemency system. Because the issue is we are not going to have overzealous prosecutors treating people in a way that violates their uh, rights, human rights, and then let them go and then give them a couple of pennies. Now, there's another story that I don't believe is, oh man, what did I do? Oh, jail inmates worked for a $16 billion company without pay. Now, this is something. I read this. Santa Rita County, Santa Rita Jail has some inmates in it who were working for Aramark, a $16 billion company, and they weren't getting paid. And though this Mother Jones report is dated this January 6th, I think the suit was filed back in November of 2019. But the issue is, under my new California clemency uh, measure, proposal, plan, ideal, whatever you call it, there's no way in the world that these inmates would be subject to such a disrespect of humans by having them work for a company for $16 billion and then get paid nothing. The shenanigans that are behind this are in the article. It's too long for me to repeat. I just can't get into it. But look it up. Santa Rita inmates sue because they were forced into working. And one story in it, I think one of the main people suing here is a man that he was trying to go to get his GED, or while he was locked up, he was being going to classes. And so he was going to skip his work in the jail for this company and go to the class. Well, he was threatened. They said that they were going to take all of his privileges away if he went to the class to get his GED. Now, you can't, there's no way in the world. I don't care if you're Charles Manson. You are not going to get me to sign on to mistreating people, inmates, just because you want to make a buck off of them. It don't work that way. And this California clemency ideal that I've come up with, though these inmates were in jail, not prison, they would have had an opportunity to be released if they were mistreated, and it was proven. And so I'm trying to pump up my California clemency ideal because it doesn't have any flaws. Sure, under current systems, you're going to release somebody who don't need to be released. And I am aware of the fact that people will think I'm promoting a get out of jail free card. I'm not that silly. If a person's bent on committing crimes, then I'm not going to create something that'll allow them the opportunity to create more crimes. Let me go to my next item here. I read in the New York Times Magazine this past week of these stories, what's called, and I didn't know this, split verdicts. Two jurors voted to acquit this man. He was still convicted of murder anyway. Now, in the article, New York Magazine, I think it's this week, maybe dated January 15th, I'm not sure. But I hope if you have the mind to look it up, Google it, you stick with the whole story. Because there's three stories that the New York Magazine is telling here. In Louisiana and a few other states, you don't have to have a unanimous verdict to to convict somebody. 10-2, 11-1 will do. Well, in the three stories that the New York Times Magazine, excuse me, article is pointing out, the three cases, all of them, the people who held out were right. The majority was wrong. But these individuals still got convicted. Now, in Louisiana, they changed the law. They changed the law, I believe it was last year, to where these individuals who are caught up in a split verdict, that's no longer the case. As of now, as of law, it has to be a unanimous verdict. And all of the racism that caused all of this other stuff to happen is done away with. However, there's 2,400 inmates currently in Louisiana prisons who are still fighting for freedom based on these 10-2, 11-1 verdicts, where a lot of them, they didn't do the crime. They were railroaded or whatever the case may have been. But this Innocence Project and a few other groups are trying to win these people their justice, if you will. And so I'm saying that, let's say my California Clemency, which would be renamed and modified for the state of Louisiana, was enacted. I'm saying that those 24, you wouldn't have to search through them all. Those 2,400 people would automatically have access to a new clemency process, to where you didn't have to go through layers and layers and layers and years and years and years of appeals just to get heard. You would go immediately to a board. Of course, you can say, well, everybody can file something and go, and look for a new trial, if you will. No, not the way I have this set up. I've done my homework. And I'm saying that in this situation where these 2,400 people were not thought of when they decided to redo this law in Louisiana, they will not, under what I am trying to promote, mainly in California, but after it goes in California, I hope it goes in other states, and we know how that works. But I'm saying that these people would be able to get the relief that they desire because someone has come up with a comprehensive way to streamline justice and make sure those wrongfully incarcerated are at the top of the list when it comes to getting relief. Now, I understand that this is a tall task. On my website, I have said that, hey, if I can get my website back, uh-oh, sorry kids, can't get it, uh-oh. Well, I can't find it. If you'll follow me, this man, Terrence Hallinan, I want to give a shout out to him. He just passed away. And I recall maybe 15 years ago, I called him about my California Clemency boards, and he was district attorney of San Francisco. The man is something else. Was something else. Well, he met with me when I mentioned just a little bit about what I was doing. He got interested. We sat down and had coffee right across the street from the Hall of Justice. And he gave me a few pointers, told me he liked the idea. Well, I just found out that he passed, and I just wanted to say thank you, Terrence Hallinan, again, for giving me a boost of confidence because the man knew the law. But as I have said, my clemency project, I'll be the whole year on this issue. And as I try to get people to understand we can do better, the one thing that I like people to really concentrate on, and I don't want to, well, I have a bone to pick with groups like the Innocence Project. Because the Innocence Project is dedicated to getting innocent people out of prison. They see no problem with the 10, the 20, and the 30 years to win a person's freedom. I do. It shouldn't take 10, 20, and 30 years to get an innocent person out of prison. CaliforniaClemency.org. California Clemency Boards will do just that. It will take less than 30 days after a person has submitted their exoneration request to the board. It will take less than 30 days to win this person's freedom, not 30 years in some of these cases. Recently, a man was released from prison after 20 years. The Innocence Project, they were all happy. They won freedom for the guy. I couldn't be happy. Why? Because it should not have to happen. B, that you take that long to get somebody's freedom. What were they concentrating on? They were concentrating on the current system. Don't they have anybody in their office looking through laws to find out there's got to be a better way? Common sense says it should not take 30 years. And if it does under the current system needs to change. And I'm saying that as great of work, and you know all of those who the Innocence Project and projects like them have helped win their freedom, you know they're happy. Well, I agree. They should be. They don't have enough staff to take care of the cases that they can't get to right now. Why? Because they're spending 10, 20, and 30 years getting people out of prison who don't belong there. And I'm saying the benefits of a new clemency process. Keep in mind, I've said it before on this program. Clemency is the most powerful tool in criminal justice. So why aren't we using it as the most powerful tool? Look at it this way. Federal clemency. Notice how Donald Trump, our president, he has been dangling pardons for people who he said, hey, if you break the law, don't worry, I'll pardon you. What kind of mess is that? He has that power right now. And I'm saying that if we take that power and change it, understand federal and state, two different things. But what I'm saying here is if we do it in California on a state level, it may wake up other states and the feds. I just read an interesting article where some news organization in Washington, D.C. is calling for taking the pardon powers away from the president. Well, I've been saying that for almost 20 years. And so what I'm saying is, excuse me, we have the law. We have the creativity because people who know something's not right sit back and brainstorm and do things, but it takes money. Only thing that's holding me back is money. I say that it'll take $10 million for me to just get this on the ballot. But I'm saying that not only does this have benefits, I am challenging anyone to come up with a situation that California clemency cannot handle. Understand there's different states. I'm claiming that it could be modified for any state and federal use. But as far as a California crime, or let's just to be simple, take it from any other state. Any other state and bring it over to California and see if a person could win freedom through this. I think one of the individuals in this New York Magazine story, the person had 18 alibis. He didn't commit the crime. 18. But he was still convicted on a 10-2 or 11-1 ruling by the jury. Juries, I give them an awful lot of credit. But they can be wrong. And I'm saying that we have a way to balance out this to where people are not railroaded. And I guarantee you, there'll be an awful lot less crime. Staff in the prisons it'll bring down the pressures that they're under. We'll save billions of dollars over the time. I'm saying follow me, CaliforniaClemency.org, and we can get this done. I need help, and I hope you help me. Until next time, God bless.